you go.
So cute. So that was a cliffhanger because you like the machete.
This is where that's so funny. The mother was like, "That's enough of that. We're going to talk about something else now."
There we go. There we go.
Okay. Lila, you can't hear me or you can't hear Taj.
All right.
We're going to test and we're going to say
Test. Mic check.
Lila, can you hear us now? Yeah. So we were talking about systems, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Destroying old systems.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to live in LA, I went to Agape, and one day Reverend Michael blew my mind because he gave a whole sermon about the difference between the planet and the world. And he was like, our job is not to save the world. Our job is to allow this world to pass away and to create a new world for folks to step into. And that's where when I took on this idea of like, oh, my job, I'm a doula for the planet. I'm a doula for the new world. My job is to be able to create the conditions where the new world can be born. And that to me is the cultural work. That is the work of a cultural strategist. It's the work of a storyteller. It's the work that the folks who we sit in circle with do, is like to actually create the conditions for people to step into a new way of being, into a new world, into a new set of values, into a new way of embodying those values. Because we can accept the values and then don't embody them and don't, like, this is a practice. This is not a quantum leap. It's a practice, right? That's going to take us probably for the rest of our lives. But that's why, and shout out to Carrie and to Nicole Cardoza, it's why the Wellness of We was born, because we actually have to have a place to practice together to be in the new world, because it's new and fresh and we don't really know how to do that yet. And to do that with those women who specifically work in the like wellness, like the yoga and wellness world, to me was really a powerful opportunity because of my family background in wellness and public health and the work that my dad and my sister do, and how I think that all of the folks who are doing social justice work, I think we're all doing work around health and wellness because our systems are sick, our culture is sick, the way, all the things I've already said, right? And so for me to be able to shorten the gap between those two conversations, between like culture and wellness, was really a powerful opportunity for me to be able to experiment with some language that I have been thinking about, experiment with some ideas I have been thinking about. And it's exciting because now we're able to articulate like this idea of cultural wellness, and the fact that if our policies and our practices are unwell, then our culture must be unwell. So we actually want to do the long haul work. We have to think about what it means to have a well culture. What does that look like? How do we live into it? How do we have the conversations to be able to practice in it? And then also like this work of wellness equity. My father's work is health equity, but my father is also the person who introduced me to Mind Body. I would have like 50 Black people meditating in my living room when I was a little kid. So like when I think of like wellness and yoga and all that, I don't think about middle-aged white women. I think about my father. And so this idea of expanding his idea of health equity and thinking about social determinants of health, really to like, we actually deserve to be more than healthy. We deserve to be well in all of our fullness, spiritually, emotionally, socially, economically, all of those things. And the rubrics for wellness are like a 20-something-year-old athletic cisgender heterosexual white college educated man. Like, so if you don't embody the Western idea of wellness like he does, then you are not well. So we're not even being measured by our own yardstick of what it means to be well. And so like really dismantling that and saying like, how do we actually measure and achieve wellness, or at least walk towards wellness? And then also, how do we say, yes, you cisgender, heterosexual, athletic, college-educated white man who may do exercise and drink green juice every day, you are not actually well because you are infested with the disease of patriarchy, capitalism, and all the other things, right? And to like really redefine wellness in the vein of like being a culturally well person, being somebody who participates in and practices what it means for us to be culturally well, so that we are also creating community practices, creating circles, creating policy, creating a world where we actually all can show up in our fullness and our own humanity, right? Whatever that means to you in your space.
Mm. 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 That is so powerful. That is so powerful.
It's
I
like
want
my
to.
favorite thing to talk about right now. I love
I
you
know.
so much. I
It
love
is. It
you.
is a big part of the next part of your practice,
It
teaching,
is.
community building journey. It is the thing you are bringing into all the beloved community spaces that we're in. I want to go back a little bit and see if you can reflect on your experience in this transitions community, this beloved
Mm.
community network that we've all been a part of with many others for many years,
Yeah.
and just sort of how this community has supported you in your own learning and practice and development, and if you wouldn't mind sharing, a little bit about what you've learned about the relationship between community and everything else, right? You talked a little bit about kind of what it means in the context of family and the experience that you had of your family being kind of a real center of community, right? When you got 50 people in your living room,
Yeah.
just that is a notion of family, which is not how most folks think about
Yeah.
family in the dominant culture, right?
Yeah.
So you had a cultural context of family and community in which those things were brought to you in a very particular way. And yet, most of us spend most of our time inside of boxes. And it may be the box of the nuclear family or the box of the suburban house or the box of the apartment building. And then we go from the box of the workplace or the
Yeah.
box of the child care center. Like everything in this culture is kind of boxed up, right? And sometimes when you go into those boxes, you find community. There's people in there. But just because there's people in a box doesn't mean there's community happening. So what have been the sort of lessons for you about the relationship between sort of community and all of these other spaces that we're in, and like our nonprofit organizations and all of those things where sometimes we think, hey, I'm going to go over there and try to make some stuff happen, but when we get in there, it's not always what we hoped, dreamed, or thought it might be. So just if you have any stories to share around that on your journey.
I mean, the most potent lesson that I've learned by being a part of this community is the lesson, most people think if you want to change the world, you have to start an organization. But the truth is, if you want to change the world, you have to build community. And that one single truth changed the trajectory of my personal, professional, movements, spiritual, all the lives. And now my number one goal is to build community, which to me is building trust, building relationship, building like honesty, vulnerability, right? Shared values, shared practice, shared vision, shared work. And that's not at all my orientation, even though that is how I was raised. The way that my mind interpreted it, and like because of different harms that I've experienced in my life and the way that I responded to those harms was to be, and also my nature, because I am a Leo woman. So there's that too, right? So my tendency has always been to like, it also is my codependency. Let me just get that out there too. So like for all those reasons, I turned into someone who felt like the responsibility of the community was mine. So like, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to come up with the ideas. I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to raise the money. I'm going to make sure everybody's okay. I'm going to whatever, right? Like, what do you want? Okay, got it. I'm going to go manifest that on your behalf. And as a result, actually became a person who was always surrounded by people, who was loved by people, who was always out in the world, but was actually very isolated and very lonely and very alone all the time. And now, as a result of being a part of this community and really understanding not just the power of community, but like the fundamental necessity for community in order for the world to look the way I want it to look. Like that was where my own courage had to come in, and my own release of fear had to come in. Was about like I had to release the fear of actually being connected. Right? Like actually being connected and exposing who I am and what I love and what I want and what I think, and allowing other people to give to me in the way that I was always giving to other people. Because community is not something that you can do. Community is something that we create together. I cannot create community for us. It doesn't matter how hard I work, how much money I raise, how many times I fall on my sword. I cannot create community for us. We must create community for each other, which means I must allow other people to create community for me too. And that was the biggest, most painful, longest lesson of my life, is just to be with other people, because the justice, the love, the abundance, the joy that we seek for each other doesn't happen if you feel like it's on you. It only happens when we understand that it's on us. And then we do the work to be able to do those things together. And so like my entire existence in Memphis, the way I show up here, the way I show up for my family right now, the way I show up for the people who I'm like, okay, I need to be in relationship with these folks. What does that look like? All of those conversations happen as a result of me being a part of the Beloved Communities Network, because it's one thing to help pass a law. It's one thing to be in a protest. It's one thing to be able to write to make sure that someone is safe. It's another thing to build a container where we all can be safe. We all can be joyful. We all can eat well. We all can, right, manifest our dreams. We all can be super juicy. That only happens when we come together in that way. So that is my biggest lesson from being a part of this work. It's like, it's not about the organizations. It's not about the campaigns. It's not about the laws. It's about each other. It's about how we exist with each other in every moment.
Whew. And just gonna take a breath there.
Yep.
I wanna see if you'd be willing to share a little bit about how the dream is unfolding in Memphis right now. So, because one of the things that's I know is core to this work of being in community and co-creating community together, and allowing yourself to show up in community to receive the gifts of community, which you know, for many of us, as you said, is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And that is the work of building well culture. Like well culture comes out of that giving and receiving.
That's right.
And having the courage to show up fully with each other and for each other. And then another part of that, as I know you're in, is about understanding and healing our relationship to our places, to the land, to the soil, to the water, to the other relatives that are there. And you all are deep into that in Memphis, like thinking about how to repair our relationship to place.
Yeah.
And the history of the place and the future of the place. And yeah, just wondering what about the vision that's emerging out of that practice you're most just inspired and excited by? Because I know historically we're in Temple, we got some historic stained glass coming in, we've got, just like the little things that are big things
Yeah.
that are transforming that place and transforming the community's relationship to the place.
Yeah. Another place where my perspective and my participation is evolving in real time. So I have no idea what's about to come out of my mouth. I will say that I'm quite grateful for Memphis. And when I say Memphis, I really mean the people that I interact with here in Memphis, because this is probably the first time since I was a child that I feel like I have a home, to be completely honest. I came here, I came here to be here for 6 months because I had a project. I was co-writing a musical about the sanitation worker strike of 1968, and I was gonna be here and then go about my merry way and just do what I normally do. And when I got here, a few things happened. The first thing that happened was I started being introduced to all of these young Black creatives who were really very clear and quite relentless about their vision for their future. And we're holding that vision with no fear, which was notable to me. This was like this unapologetic, unabashed commitment to love for their own self and their own community, and that they were gonna live in and manifest that love as hard as they could for as long as they could, with no hi Charles, with no shame or nothing, right? So that was the first thing. And it was like so ironic that Charles just walked in, because the energy that I was experiencing from those creatives, I had not felt since I lived in Atlanta and started a label and did all that, right? So like this really intense creative energy, but that was directly connected to not just creating art, but to creating a new way of being, which was like, that's my, if you know me, you know that's my jam. Like that intersection, though, that's my jam. And so I was like, whoa, who are these people? What are they doing? What's happening? Where have they been all my life? And that was the first thing. And then as I dug into the work of Claiborne Temple, historic Claiborne Temple was the headquarters of the sanitation worker strike in '68, which is the campaign that King was working on when he came to Memphis and he was assassinated about a half a mile down the road. And when you write a musical, I don't know if you've ever written a musical before, Taj, but if you've ever written a musical, you have to really do a lot of research, right, about the topic that the thing is about. So I'm like reading all these books. We had a book list, we had articles. I'm meeting all these people, I'm asking all these questions, and the history of the building turned into the history of the strike, which turned into the history of the city. And Memphis is just foundational to the story of race and class militarism in America, right? And at the time when I moved here, Memphis was 65% Black, with a 35% poverty rate. Something like half of all Black children in Memphis are born into poverty. And Memphis is also the place where the first Black millionaire lived, former slave, built an empire, was Ida B. Wells' patron, was W.C. Handy's patron, founded Beale Street, had the first Black bank in America with $1 million of assets. And I just couldn't understand the leap between this is the mecca for Black wealth and this is the place where half of Black children are born into poverty, right? And realizing that the creatives who I was bumping into were wrestling with the same thing and being like, this doesn't make any sense, and we're not doing this anymore. And understanding that the Robert Church's legacy, there was an actual interruption of his legacy. The way we got from there to there was because like his legacy and the things that he was building around Black wealth, Black political power, right? All the Black narrative power, even based on the people he supported, was actually purposefully, diabolically, violently dismantled by the white power structure here. And really just this one guy, right? This one guy, E.H. Crump, who was like, nah, I don't want that. We're just going to destroy it all. And literally burnt the man's house down, took all his land and turned it into the second ever public housing project in America, right? Mm. So like, there's an actual socioeconomic, political, cultural story that you can trace from Memphis being on the rise to being the capital of the South and the center of Black wealth to a place where people told me not to come because they were afraid I was gonna get hurt, right? Black people told me, are you sure you want to go to Memphis? I don't know if this is gonna be safe for you, right? And me getting here and feeling nothing but love and hope and creativity and innovation. And it just felt like it was a place that I wanted to belong. It wasn't even like a place I wanted to be. I wanted to belong here. I wanted to be a part of what was happening. I wanted to be in service of what was happening. And I asked permission to stay because I know the first rule of entering community is that you ask if you're allowed to be there. You can't just bust in somebody's community and be like, great, I'm going to be here now. What do you need? So you have to like actually build the kind of relationship where you can actually be welcomed into the space. And so I spent a lot of time doing that. And now Historic Claiborne Temple, like for my work, is the center of my work here in Memphis, but it is not. It's not the center of my commitment in Memphis. The center of my commitment in Memphis is Taliba, Sophia, is Frankie, is Victoria, is Princeton, is all of the creatives who I have had the good fortune of being in community with, and the people and the community members who have like showed up and said, the conversation that you're having about manifesting a new energy, about restoring our economic sovereignty, about being self-determined, right? Those are the people who are the center of my world here. The women who are doing amazing work, like Rosalind Willis, the people who like, there are so many powerful people here who are in their own ways manifesting the new world. That I am like in deep service to and in deep community with, and it's teaching me about what I'm actually supposed to be doing. Because even though I know, like, if you want to build if you want to change the world, don't build an organization, build community. I came here and built an organization. That's what that's what I did. And they are teaching me every day like that. I love Historic Claiborne Temple so much. I love it so much. That building has become such a big part of my life. And I know it's not going to be the thing that saves us. It'll be the thing that welcomes people. It'll be a space where we can come together. It'll be a very important part of the cultural narrative of the story that we're telling, but it's not going to be the thing that saves us. What saves us will be our connection to each other, our love for each other, our commitment to each other, and our ability to be relentless and honest and vulnerable and all those things to each other. And that is what's happening in Memphis. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm so grateful for this city and for the people who love me here. I'm so grateful for the people in Memphis who love me, that allow me to be a part of that, because it is like the greatest gift in my life.
You are a gift, and Memphis is a gift. And having gotten the opportunity to spend some time with some of the leaders and creatives that you're in community with, I understand how important that community is and that place is to the future of the South, the future of the country, the future of humanity. Memphis's impact on the world has been under recognized and underappreciated, and I think just folks better watch out, because there's big things happening in Memphis that are already rippling across the South.
Memphis,
rippling across the globe. It's really beautiful to see. and just the way in which you're doing it all, right? It's like, yeah, you're building the institution, but in a way that is just space for
Mm-hmm.
community to be coming
Yep.
together. That community is at the center,
Mm-hmm.
and that the space is in service of community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to get that into the right relationship.
Yes.
So
Yes.
as we get ready for this next series of conversations with this third Sunday of the month, Beloved Community Radio. We're probably gonna hear from Sister Judith and Native Organized Alliance, Auntie Pua, doing that beloved community work in
You
Hawaii.
know, all the powerful women
Sister
on here.
Tammy, get Calvin and Terry up here talking some Wakanda Dream Lab and getting us into some intelligent mischief. The party will continue, but as we wind down this first coming together, this first conversation in this series. Anything else you want to share? You want to talk about? You want to make sure that you leave with the people before we send folks off into the rest of their Sunday?
I was like, get it together, people. Get it together. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that I, I think a study on love is important, right? This is what we need right now, is a way for us to actually get past this cultural definition of what love is, and the assumption that it must be soft and pink and gentle and right, and really understand. Ooh, I do have something I want to say before I say all that. This might have nothing to do with nothing, but I think it needs to be said, because a lot of us are walking around waiting to be healed, waiting to be seen, waiting to feel, waiting to prove to ourselves or someone else to prove to us that we're worthy of something before we start to live or to dream or to be joyful or whatever. And I spent my whole life trying to find access and arguments for my worthiness. And one day I realized that it was like such a colossal waste of my time, because the very nature of humanity is to be worthy of love. We are all born worthy of love. So if you're in a conversation about whether or not you are valuable or you have worth or you deserve things, I would like you just to abandon that conversation immediately and assume and to know that if you were born, you are worthy of love, and to also disaggregate a conversation about what you're worthy of and what your experience is. Because oftentimes we say, well, I have this because I deserve it. I don't have that because I don't deserve it. But life experience is not connected to your innate value as a human being or your ability to or deserving of love. It is a completely different conversation. So I want for us all to be able to move forth saying, like, say it with me, everyone. I am worthy of love. I
am worthy of love.
Yes. I am worthy of connection.
Yes.
I am worthy of bounty. I am worthy of abundance. I am worthy of whatever the thing is that you want to have, right? And then understand that aside from our worthiness, there is the mechanics of living a life. And who you decide to be in community with, how you decide to show up, how you engage your own spiritual practice, how you engage your own like world,
Mm.
those things, the choices that you make, right? Those are the things that dictate our experience. How you respond to the blockades, how you respond to the harm that's being done to you. Those are the things that dictate our experience.
Mm.
Of course, inside of a larger structural conversation that we're not right. I'm not saying like you experience racism because you created. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like your life experience and your work is two different things, right?
Mm.
And so that being said, we have to create our experience from the individual to the community to the humanity.
Mm.
The only people who can do that is us, right? We had this whole conversation all last year about living in the white imagination. We are all living in the result of the white imagination. We were not
Mm.
all born like this. The earth did not get born like this. This is somebody was like, you know what? I think we should do. I think we should still enslave, rape, pillage, and do whatever we want to. Damn humanity be damned. And that's where we are. And we have the same amount of power, the same amount
Mm.
of worthiness, the same amount of access that those people had. And we can make a different decision. We can decide that we are going to live lives of transparency and care and mutuality and harmony. And we can have that grow and spread just like the other things did.
Mm.
As long as we know that we're worthy of that. And we are.
Mm.
And that is all I want to say. And I love everybody so much. Thank you for listening to us talk. Thank you for holding this conversation with me, Taj. Thank you for allowing me to share my ideas and my thoughts with other folks. And like, thanks y'all for listening and being here with us today. And thank you for all the work that you do in the world. Because I know if you're here listening to me and Taj talk, that you're a person who's also working to manifest and embody love. So thank you for every time you made it, every time you failed, every time you had to recalibrate, every time you harmed someone and fixed it, every time you've been harmed and said it out loud. Like, thank you for showing up in your full humanity. Thank you so much for doing that.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful. So much gratitude for you, sister, and for the folks who are listening live, and the folks who are watching the recording, and the folks who are going to be looking forward to the next conversation in a month from now, as we bring in other voices, other folks in the circle who are walking the path and finding their way and coming together, figuring out how to come together so we can create something new and beautiful. And as you said so powerfully, the things that are collapsing right now are relatively young. They haven't actually been around for that long.
No.
The collapsing story is a relatively recent story in human history, and there are so many possibilities of what we've been before and what we can become. Mm-hmm. And if we can find each other and reconnect to our collective strength and our collective courage, there ain't nothing we can't do. We can do it all. All the dreams can come true. We just got to find each other, find our way back to each other. So thank you all for being with us on this journey and part of this beloved communities network. And until next time,
I wish you community.